Hello. Hello. Hi, Brian.
Hello, Brenda.
How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Welcome to the porch.
I've seen this porch before. I like this porch.
Yeah, you've been on this porch a few times.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing this with us.
You're welcome.
You seem a little nervous.
I'm so much better with 1,000 people in front of me than one-on-one.
Well, that's
Actually, I'm actually the opposite. I'm better one-on-one.
Yeah, you are, and usually not with a camera though.
But not with a camera. Yeah.
Okay, so let's just act like the camera's not there. So I want to start by asking you, what is your very, very first memory of APT?
My first. So I grew up about an hour and a half south of here. So I remember hearing about it and hearing amazing things about it. My first actual memory was seeing one of the Chekhov one acts that were done in Milwaukee at UWM. I got to see the one acts played on the stage. So my first experience of APT was the tour, one of the tours in the fall. My first time ever seeing a show here was in 1989, I think, when they did Oedipus, and it blew me away.
Why?
Well, it was great choral work that was done, and Randy Kim was playing Oedipus, and blew me away. I had never seen an actor like that before do a complete show. I mean, when I was in school, we saw some incredible Japanese actors that this blew you away. He was right up there with them in where his voice came from, and his presence just cut the air around him. He was incredible. So that was my first time seeing a show at APT, and made quite an impression.
And that made you want to audition?
It made me curious. I did not audition for another 2 years, and it was in 1991 that I auditioned, and I got in.
Right.
So and that was my first summer, 29 years ago. Yeah. And then I didn't come back then until 2000. Not my choice. I would have liked to have been around here in the 90s, but that's how it turned out.
When did you know that you wanted to be here? That you wanted to be here a lot? That you wanted to be here, be part of it?
Well, I knew in 1991 that I wanted to be here. It was Randy Kim's last year. It was not an entirely easy year. There were some artistic tensions and things going on that year. And David Frank was hired at the end of that year. I didn't know what he was going to be like, but he was new and was going to be fresh. And so I wasn't yearning to work with him because I didn't know who he was yet. Right. But as I saw the work going on in 92 and 93 and 94, I came back about every other year and auditioned, and it wasn't happening. And that hurt, because I knew then I wanted to be here and had a lot of friends that were here and peers. And so I was yearning for it, and I finally in 2000 got it.
What was your first show? I mean, I was here. I'm sorry, I don't remember exactly.
Oh, in 2000?
Yeah, what was the three what were you in?
Winter's Tale. Phaedra.
Oh, right.
Oh my God. Midsummer. I played Quince in Midsummer.
And that was Bill's Midsummer?
No, that was
Who's Midsummer? Oh, that was Paul Barnes.
Paul Barnes.
You were in that one and in Bill's.
And in Bill's.
As a mechanical.
Yeah. In Midsummer, I've only lived in the mechanical world.
That's wild to me.
I kind of like it.
Well, it's fun.
It is fun. The mechanical world is like so straightforward. There's none of the, although I love doing higher language and verse speaking, but some of that language is so flowery that I'm so glad to be right in the wheelhouse of doing the mechanical world.
So we talk about this I asked everybody all these questions. And one of the questions I asked them is, when I first started asking directors to work here, I asked John Langs after he'd done his first season if he'd want to come back. And he said, it's amazing. It's like walking through fire working there, Brenda. Let me think about it. What do you think he meant by that?
Well, I don't, because I'm a part of probably the fire walking element, merely because I've been here for a few years. What I remember, even though it was a whole different organization then, when I came here to work for the first time when Randy was here, I was in Tartuffe. That was another one of the shows we did that summer. And I was the only outsider. Everyone in the company had been there at least 3-4 years, if not virtually all the years that had been gone so far. So it would have been season 11 or 12 at that time. And I walked into the room and it was very intimidating because they all had a common language. The room bent to Randy strongly. He was directing and playing organ. And everyone knew at that moment that was the last season. So it was an intimidating room to be a part of. And I remember piping in one time to say something to Randy. Randy had mentioned that he was tired, and that was part of why he was wanting to move on to find something different. And I was 30, and I said, "Hey, I'm here. I want to get everything I can from you." And I think Val Lance came to me later and said, "That was so brave of you, Brian." And I thought, why was that brave?
Oh, I know why that was brave. I mean, so you're saying when John said that, it's about having bravery.
I think you probably feel then that you are among people who are feeling comfortable and brave with each other, and it's hard to come up to that when it's unfamiliar. Right.
I always call it kind of a little bit like double Dutch. It's jump rope, like it's kind of going. It's this machine. It's got all these, the layers of repertory and the layers of understanding and the layers of relationships and stuff. I think one of the most stress-induced times here are the first read-throughs. Yeah. Everyone's like, okay, I've done a whole lot of my research. I know that I have like 4 more weeks of research to do, but I gotta show it. I gotta have it. I gotta bring it. Yeah.
And let people know I've been here before, and
that you're.
And then I know what I'm
back, and that's why you're back.
Yeah.
Because you're kind of like, what's he doing here?
Yeah. If you have a guest actor coming in, it's like, why the hell are they keeping him? Yeah. That's no good. So.
What have you been most proud
of? Just personally?
APT. Working here,
I love that. I know that the early years of APT, the very early years, the single-digit years of APT, there was a lot of financial hardship, and I think since David had come along, and you've carried it on since, that the administrations have just kept us in the black. And we've just kept it up, and we've grown, and we've kept the ball in the air, and the audience grows, and we grow, the shows grow, the company's size grows, and most recently, like our eyes just got opened up, our diversity is growing, and it's just, that's probably the most impressive thing for me.
Yeah.
The thing I'm most proud of.
And personally? Your work? What are you most proud of in your work?
Oh, I remember years ago doing a visualization exercise. Susan Sweeney and I were both in it. It was years ago, and we had a director come in when I was in grad school, and one of the exercises he had us do was draw on a piece of paper where you think your career is going to go. And people drew this visual thing. I drew on my piece of paper this big, thick black line that just kept going till it went to nothing. And then we handed it over to someone, and they were supposed to look at it and interpret it. And I remember Susan Sweeney looking at it. And she looked at it and she goes, "It looks like your career just disappears." And I said, no. It means that for me, the visualization I had was that my work is kind of what I thought was clunky and deliberate at the time.
Oh.
And that I wanted it to disappear, that I wanted the technique to disappear.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't think I'm never going to get to that little thin line that I drew. But I hope that I'm moving more toward that, so that.
And so people that aren't versed in the idea of technique and acting, you're talking about the skill set, the kind of nuts and bolts of something that can make something feel appropriate, but not necessarily authentic, or.
I think yes, and I also think it's being able to get what you're going for, trying to accomplish what you set out for. And when I was younger, I think I was less efficient. That I wanted to go for something, but it came out a little different. And I feel like I'm able a little more in my technique to get it to what I want it to be.
Gosh, that makes so much sense, you saying that. I can just see your chart.
I know.
Knowing you all these years. I mean, how long have I known you? I've known you 30 years.
31 years ago-ish.
Right about now.
Yeah.
You made me pancakes.
I made you for your birthday.
For my birthday. I remember that. What do you wish you could do over?
Oh, you mean
that thing right there? What is that? What do you wish you could do over?
Well, even in life, here at APT.
Or your career, or your roles.
I wish I had caught on quicker. Probably everyone has that to some degree. When I started out acting, I always played. I was a big guy, so I had a big voice, so I played uncles and dukes and fathers and
lots of dukes,
kings, and I never got to play myself at my age.
Yeah.
And so now that my age and my character ages are coming closer together, I'm realizing things about acting that I didn't know 20 years ago.
Right, which talks to the point of like, what's in your wheel, like what, because when you sit down with the script, you say, where do I see myself? And when you can sit down with the script and go, oh, I see myself all over this.
Yeah.
The idea of being authentic and carefree and able in your choices, having them be at the ready, is so much different.
Yeah. And so I wish I had a crack at some of that stuff, both here and anywhere 15, 20, 25 years ago.
A king, so this is like a...
Because I am a king. I am a king.
It finally just kind of comes
It's good to be the king. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish
like Willie Loman. I mean, like to find the time and your career and your age, like right there.
Yeah, Willie came at a great time for me. Thanks, but I would love another crack at him at a little older. It seems like all the famous, well, not that mine was the famous, but the big productions of Salesman have normally been by actors who were a little younger than they should have been for that role, and I was among those. I was 55, I guess, and he should be another 7-8 years older than that at least. But I've always played older than I am. I meet people and they're like, "Really? Oh my God, you're only that." So, but yeah, Willie came at a great time for me, and yeah.
So you wish you could do all the good stuff over and all the bad stuff over. You want to do it all over.
I want to do it all over. I could just have a do-over.
Is there any role you don't want to do over?
Yeah, I don't want to do Hortensio again in Shrew.
You only played him once, though.
I played him once, and I remember we were on that show, and Hortensio was just kind of he just sort of fit between the lines, and I couldn't ever quite grasp him. I would ask some of the guys in the company, which is usually a good source, have you seen Hortensio done well, or have you done Hortensio? And everyone just backed off and didn't want to talk. When that show was over, I found out like 5 of the guys in that cast had played Hortensio before, and they wouldn't tell me a thing about what they'd learned. Maybe they all had the same experience, but...
That's really funny. It's not a role they probably, wrote a lot about in their journals.
Yeah, no, you don't find a lot of literature on hortensia.
Yeah, a lot of books written about
No,
hortensia.
no.
How has APT changed you, Brian? How has it absolutely to you made you a different person?
Well, simply by, I became a part of the company when I was 42. And so simply by me being a part of the company in these years, I've gained a lot of confidence. And I've matured since I've been here. But so I think that's it. And the sense of a company really deepens that confidence. I was talking about this the other day, that when I go away to work somewhere, I feel confident about my work and I feel good about what I know and how I interact with people, whether I know them or not. But oh my God, when you come back and you're able to look across the stage at someone you've worked with for anywhere from 5 to 30 years, it's not like you know everything they're going to do, but you just trust everything they're going to do because you've seen them do it again and again and again, and you know they're going to be there for you. You're going to be there for them. You've been through terrible things. You've been through incredible things. So that comfort and not necessarily familiarity, but that feeling of belonging has changed me. Up until I was 42, I was a freelance actor, just going out and working everywhere. And, I'd work at the same places, but every 2 years, you never really got a chance to get into the swing of things. I didn't feel. That's what I've gotten. That's the opportunity I've had here.
I see almost everyone's spoken to that at some point in their conversation about being in the company. And I'm such an advocate for the opportunity. I mean, it is by nature exclusive, so it doesn't. People will watch that and say, "Well, there's only this many people that get to experience that." But,
well, if I may, one of my first mentors, Mike Dobbins, when I first started in junior college, came to see me when I went to grad school. And he saw a production of King Lear, which we did, where the whole class was in Lear. And we had like 3 to 4 different casts. Every night we switched. There's a different Lear that matched up with a different Kent, had a different Edmund and Edgar. And he came to see one night of it, and we went out and had a drink afterward. And he said, "Brian, I'm worried for you." He says, "It was an incredible show. It was just a feast for the eyes and the ears." He said, "But I'm worried for you because I think you're going to get out of this school and you're not going to find another place that pays this much attention to what the craft is. You're going to end up with companies that are hither and yon with the way they think and look at theater." And I would, here and there, I did kind of run into that. And it was just a couple of years ago that I remembered that conversation, that comment. And that's what I have found at APT, is that there's a common language, there's a common mantra, there's a common thread to what story is and what...
Yeah, that's something that every director talks about. They're like, "Oh my God, if they bring up what the story is again, it's gonna scream."
And it's not the story, it's story.
What's this story?
Yeah.
In this play, in this moment, what's the story we're trying to tell?
Yeah.
What story are we trying to tell?
Yeah.
What's hard about it? About being in the company? What's hard about it? On a personal level, or
on a personal level, I don't know if I'm the only one, but I've got children and grandchildren. So there's a price you pay at APT because you're gone for 5 to 6 months, and on some years, if you do a show around the holidays, it ends up being 6 or 7 months, where I can't go to Michigan or down to Chicago or out to California to go see my children and grandchildren. Yeah. And so, sometimes I'm lucky that they come here, but they've got lives and they're running around. So I've got to fit all those visits in between my summer work and whatever jobs I get in the winter. And
right.
So that's a bit of a price, and I just turned 60, and so
Really?
yes, I know you won't believe it.
No, I just was like yesterday. Though.
Yes, it was like a week ago. So so that comes into my mind, you know. So that's what makes it hard. Sometimes the weather makes it hard.
Is the responsibility hard?
The responsibility is hard. One of the most rewarding and tough summers I had was back in 16 when we did Salesman. So there were a couple times where I would play Willie up on the hill in the afternoon. And then that night I went to play Ham in Endgame indoors.
That's a wonderful season for you.
It was a wonderful season. And dinner time was hell because, you know, when we get to opening shows in the month of August, we did Salesman 4 times in the whole month of August. So you get to that second week of August and you're just opening Endgame. And then that night you're doing Salesman. And the moment I started taking my stuff off for Ham, I'm saying I'm home. You know, I'm starting the lines for Salesman, and the whole time I'm getting in my car and driving home and eating a sandwich and maybe taking a quick shower, and the whole time I'm speaking those words. I'm walking up the hill and I'm in the last scene, and I get up there and I start putting my makeup on. And I'm quiet for about 20 minutes, and then I start the show.
Right on.
So
that's rep. That's rep.
That's the rep. And sometimes you get this big juicy one and a medium-sized one. And those are wonderful.
Yeah, those are wonderful.
And it's wonderful to have the 2 big guys too. But sometimes they start talking to each other and it's...
What do you wish for APT's future?
Growth, continued growth. I think the worst thing that would be is that we get stagnant. And growth would, and I don't know, growth does not necessarily mean that we get like 3 times more people in the theater. I don't know that the outdoor theater can handle any more seats. I don't think we need any more seats.
No.
And I don't know if it necessarily means we get another playing space somewhere down the road, although that would maybe be nice. But growth in the type of stories we tell, growth in the audiences we pull, growth in the diversity of the players and the stories that we tell.
It's like so important for us to grow ourselves. As artists, to understand the nature of our listening to stories has got to change as well as our nature of doing stories.
Yeah.
So we bring the value of those stories to our audience. We are the window to that.
Exactly.
Story.
And when we have different stories from different cultures, we're hearing it with fresh ears.
So we're all about words at APT, right?
Oh, yes.
You know, you watch those actor studios.
Yes.
What's your favorite word?
For once, I'm not going to say that word. I think my favorite word is yes. Although
To say or to hear?
I like to experience the word yes. Yes, yes, go on by.
Yes.
Keep going.
Yes.
I like the word yes, but I because I've seen one of these before, I knew that question was coming. The word that I've been thinking of lately as a favorite word is inclusion.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Inclusion. What's your least favorite word?
No. Sorry, I'm pretty basic. I like negative. I hate anything negative.
No.
So, yeah, stop that.
Don't.
I hate words that degrade people. Degrade. I hate that word.
Yeah. Yeah, those are good words to not like and like. So, This I wish you didn't know. You probably know this question's coming because this is the one that I think is really interesting to ask.
As many of these as I've watched, I forget what
So-
all the questions were.
I've known you for so long, and I've known you long enough to know some of the things you would tell yourself 30 years ago that you know now.
Mm-hmm.
I could probably guess some of those.
Oh, okay. Yep.
But like, what would you tell yourself as a little boy growing up? What would you tell yourself about you, knowing who you are now, so that you could?
Oh my God, so much. I almost want to cry when you ask that. Relax. And when I was a boy, I grew up in a little tiny town, and I found it easy to be intimidated by things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's taken me all these years to experience life and live in different places and travel parts of the world, and to realize that people are people wherever you go. But I sure as hell didn't know that when I was a kid. So, and I think theater has shown me that too. I think when I started out doing theater, I thought that people that lived 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, that they were different in some way, but they weren't. They were the same.
Fundamentally, yeah.
Fundamentally, they wanted to be liked, and they hated, and they loved, and so I would tell myself, relax and see things for what they really are.
It's interesting. I think one of the things I say, Jimmy says I say it a lot. I don't know I did, but one of the things I tell myself that gives me, that is like that, is like this idea that once I figured out from where I was sitting in my job that everybody was afraid. Like even the people you never dreamt were afraid. I would see them from my position afraid.
Yeah.
They could be afraid about living in the dark out in the countryside.
Yeah.
Or they could be afraid about being bad in the show. Or they could be afraid about having said something that they shouldn't have said and they didn't know how to clean it up. But everybody is afraid on some level about something. And a lot of times in our work about the same thing. They're afraid about the same thing.
Yeah.
And I always feel like if we could, when we get to the place where we just say, hey, the reason I'm acting so weird about this prop is I'm terrified. I won't grab the prop. But we don't take the time to say I'm terrified. I won't grab the prop. We just get mad about the prop. So
Right.
I always try to figure out how to unlock that. But this relax, everybody's.
Well, and we in this profession, we get worried that we're going to do a job that is not good,
Right.
and that our friends are not going to like us anymore.
Yeah.
Because we screwed up.
Yeah.
Because we didn't nail that role, or we didn't get that laugh, or we never got that laugh throughout the run of the show, or whatever, that we failed, and therefore that equals my friends don't like me anymore.
Right.
Or the audience doesn't like me. And I think we got to relax about that. And I have relaxed more about that.
You're a better actor.
But
Because
that's
of it.
Yeah, and that's probably another thing that APT has brought me to, is that because you get to be on one stage and you get a consistency of audience and you get a consistency of reaction, you start realizing, okay, I'm getting this. I'm on the mark. I'm on the path.
Yeah.
I got this.
Yeah. That's the thing I always wish for all the actors that are working, like, we don't hire people, we aren't working with people that we don't think at some level is just bottom line going to be good. I mean, your bottom line is going to be serviceable at the worst, right? You're not going to ever drop to some kind of like, oh my God.
Well, if I may, I talked about this the other day too. When I was in grad school, one of the first days, instructors said, everyone put your head down, and they asked us a series of questions. Raise your hand if you think this is, and one of them was, who here thinks they were probably in the last 3 or 4 or 5 people picked for the program? And I think I was told everyone, if not virtually everyone, raised their hand because everyone thought I was probably among the last ones picked. And of course that wasn't true. You know, there were 36 of us in the room, and sure there was one, but we never found out who it was. But everyone thought they were.
Right.
Everyone was afraid I'm the worst one. If I'm the worst one, then this might be a good program. Maybe.
You weren't the last one picked. You weren't the last one picked here.
I was the sixth one from the last picked, I think.
Well, thanks, Brian.
Thank you.